Wanted to ask some questions related to those ads, and for that, here's Fox Connecticut's Lori Perez with those questions. Lori.
Thank you, Brett. Mrs. McMahon, on Friday, the Blumenthal campaign released its latest ad. Let's take a look at it.
Linda McMahon is everywhere, but will she be there for you? She took $10 million from the state to create jobs, but fired 10% of her workers. Her business is under investigation for failing to pay Social Security, Medicare, or unemployment. She took home $46 million, and now she's talking about lowering the minimum wage.
I'm guessing that you would take umbrage with the depiction of your business as that way. Tell me what's wrong with that.
The first thing, let me say categorically, that is wrong and absolutely false and is incorrect in this ad is that I would consider reducing the minimum wage. That's a lie. You know that's a lie. I never said it, and it's in your ad, and boy, that's just wrong. So let's take that off the table. Mr. Blumenthal and I actually share the same thought relative to raising the minimum wage. We both said we need to take a look at it. He knows that's wrong. I never said that in an interview, but it made it into the ad real quick. As to the fact that WWE certainly has had tax incentives, yes it does, and I encourage the state of Connecticut to continue to offer tax incentives to small businesses so that they can grow. WWE took tax incentives and grew about 52 jobs in its digital media division, and I'm very pleased with that. Over the course of the last 28 years, WWE has grown by about 20 jobs a year for the past 28 years, and we need more of that in Washington. We need people who know how to create jobs. We need people who've walked in those shoes. We also need people who've experienced when things aren't so good. I've been bankrupt, I've come back from bankruptcy, I've had an opportunity because of the American dream in this country to grow and to experience what a lot of our folks here in the state are experiencing now. Mr. Blumenthal doesn't have that experience. He's been on the government payroll all of his life.
Mr. Blumenthal, just today the McMahon team started running a new ad about you. Let's see what it has to say.
About serving in a war.
We have learned something very important since the days that I served in Vietnam. I served in
Blumenthal did again and again.
When we returned, we saw nothing of this gratitude.
He covered one lie with another.
Do you regret not more fully explaining how or why you made those misstatements? And also, why didn't you serve in Vietnam?
Let me say again, Lori, as I've said before, there is nothing new in this ad, and there's nothing new about the McMahon attack on me. She's spending millions of dollars on it, and everybody knows it because they've been seeing it in their mailboxes. But as I said before, I'm proud of my military service. On a few occasions, out of hundreds, when I commented on it, I described it inaccurately, and I regret it. I take full responsibility for it. It was not intentional, but that is no excuse. And I want to say that I am sorry, particularly to our veterans, and most especially to the veterans of Vietnam. But I'm going to continue to fight for veterans, and I have championed their cause over 20 years. The fact of the matter is, I take accountability for my mistakes. My opponent has not done so. She took $10 million meant to create jobs and then laid off 10% of her workforce and took home $46 million. That is a fact. When she was asked by reporters about the minimum wage and whether to cut it, she said she would have to look at it. I would never say such a thing. My answer would have been no, absolutely not. We will not cut the minimum wage. People are struggling economically in our state and our nation.
Mrs. McMahon, you have 30 seconds.
This kind of back and forth makes me very sad. This is why I'm running for office. Mark Shields, a commentator on the NewsHour on PBS, recently said that the average Republican senator could pass the average Democratic senator on the street and not even recognize each other. There's that little communication and cooperation in the U.S. Senate. This is the institution that used to be called the Gentleman's Club because they behaved like gentle people, and they would work together to solve problems. They would agree to disagree on philosophy, but they were still all Americans and worked to craft legislation to solve problems. I don't hear that coming from either one of these candidates.